Hi again, everybody. Welcome back to the Augusta Civic Center and the Center Court Podcast. I'm Travis Barrett with Drew Bonifant and Travis Lazarczyk. We've got a crowded three-man booth tonight after a long day of continued regional quarterfinal action here. Some scores from tonight really quick. We did Class A North Boys quarterfinals. We started off with number 3 Madomic holding off number 6 Skowhegan 50-46 in overtime. Number 2 Coney 66, number 7 Lawrence 57. Number 5 Brewer, the only upset so far in the region, mild one, as the number 5 seed knocks off number 4 Messalonsky 63-47. And then the nightcap tonight, a really good one that went down to the wire. I don't think anybody saw this one coming. Number 1 Hamden Academy 57. Wait for it. Number 8 Mount Blue 54.
The score is still on the scoreboard. That's how shocking it was.
Let's get some thoughts from you guys on those first 4 games before we kind of recap some of the others. What stood out to you guys tonight?
Well, I mean, with that Hampton Mount Blue game, I think it just came down to it was just a star player playing making a star player's difference. Brace Lozier just took over. They took over the game, whether he was scoring, whether he was he had several just dazzling assists, just hitting guys right underneath the basket, and he was just shooting from anywhere, putting on display. Mount Blue really came out with a great team effort. Came to play tonight. They just didn't have the best player on the floor. Hampton did, and that's why they're moving on.
And in the case of number 2 Coney, you have a team that didn't play their best basketball by a long shot. I think Dave 2 for 18 or 2 for 19 from 3-point range. Still found a way to win by 9 points by hitting some free throws down the stretch and playing some tight D on a gritty Lawrence team that they had beaten by 25 and 20 points in the regular season. In the case of Skowhegan, that's a game that they're going to think about that maybe got away from them by missing some free throws down the stretch there and letting Madomic take it to overtime where it looks like Skowhegan just kind of ran out of steam.
And I think even though it's an upset, that Brewer-Messalonsky game for me, I think most people thought Brewer probably was going to win that one. I think they thought it might be closer than a 16-point game, but I think, Brewer's been a really, really good team. I remember talking to Erskine coach Tim Bonson towards the end of the regular season. They got pounded pretty good, and he just said that's a really, really good basketball team, and they are, and they're battle tested.
They seem to be playing
their
best basketball now, as opposed to in December.
I thought that was going to be the closest game of the 4, not just because of the 5 and 4, but because the team's structure seemed to, and the way that they play seemed to complement each other. But Brewer it was right from the get-go. They just looked totally calm, totally relaxed, totally at home at this gym, and they got it rolling and they never let up. You always see teams get off to a hot start, and then basketball's a game of runs. You see the O team start to kind of make that charge back and start to even things up a little more towards second quarter. That never happened here. It was after halftime. It wasn't a single digit game.
Yeah. Let me just quickly here. So some other scores. Girls, Class B South down in Portland, number 7, Maranacook, 43. Number 2, Oak Hill, 39 in overtime. It's been more than a decade since Oak Hill won a quarterfinal game in a regional tournament. Here back in Augusta today, we had some D South girls earlier in the day. Rangeley, 49, Vinyl Haven, 24, and Valley beats Forest Hills, 39-24. On the boys' side in D South this afternoon, kind of kicked off the afternoon session. We had Temple over Valley, 55-53, and a wild finish to that one. And Forest Hills, the number 1 seed, the unbeaten team, and the reigning Class D state champions with an 86-29 win over Seacoast Christian. That wasn't as close as the final score would even seem to indicate.
No, I don't think any of us or anyone's ever seen a 55-0 run like Forest Hills put on Seacoast Christian today.
Yeah.
Kept them scoreless in the second quarter and well into the third.
Yeah, 33-0 second quarter for Forest Hills. How about Temple? They were down 53-50 with, by my count, 30 seconds to go. They get a clutch three-pointer to tie it. And then on the inbounds, they steal it and get a layup. The only basket the kid made all day is the layup that gives them the win, 55-53.
Valley, another team that just couldn't put it away with free throws, had 3 or 4 chances to give themselves a 2-possession lead there in the last minute or two and just couldn't close the door and left it open for Temple, who makes the big 3, gets the steal, layup, and they're going to move on to the next round where they're going to have a handful with Forest Hills, obviously.
Yeah, given what I saw from Temple today, a lot of really... there's a ton of athletic ability, some kids who can really play basketball, but they just don't seem to function as a cohesive unit enough on defense, and Forest Hills is going to make you pay for that. So I feel like they're going to get the consolation prize. Thanks for coming. We have some lovely parting gifts for you in the terms of a quarterfinal round win, but you're not going any further than that.
The key to stopping Forest Hills, and nobody's done it yet this season, is slow them down. And like Scott Corey, the Temple coach, when I was talking to him for the preview of the Class D regional, said if you get out and try to run with them, you're gonna get beat because nobody's been able to do it.
Yeah, I remember the Greenville coach last year in last year's tournament. He was talking about facing Forest Hills, and he laid out everything that they do, and he said, we're going to have to stop this, we're going to have to stop that, we're going to have to stop that, and he was making it clear that this is going to be our focus, is stopping this. And the game started, and they didn't come close.
Yeah.
And he said afterwards, basically, you can talk about doing it, you can tell yourself you're going to do it, you can make it 100% your focus, but it's still just something you just can't keep up with in the court.
Yeah, I think. Forest Hills is interesting. I mean, and I don't want to make a shameless plug. I did write a column about it off the game and talk to their coach, Anthony Amaro, about it. They rock a really fine line between being an impressive basketball team to watch and getting kind of ugly at times. And what I mean by that is I think, during that 33-0 second quarter, you can kind of hear the buzz in this place. You can hear fans. You can hear people, sitting here in press row, kind of marveling at, wow, look at the way they play for a Class D team. It's pretty impressive. And then you got into the third quarter, and when that lead started to reach 60-something to 10 and almost 70-something to 10, it kind of felt, it was a little uneasy to watch. It was like watching a car crash where you knew somebody got hurt.
It's tough to walk that line, like you said, between being a really just good dominant team and a bully.
Yeah.
To their credit, the starters came out early in the second half. I think he mentioned to you, Amaro mentioned to you that they had a no three-pointers rule.
Yeah.
Took a player out who did take a three.
They do,
but it's tough when you overmatch a team that hard. You got to keep playing basketball, and if that means you're just going to run up the score whether you're trying to or not, it happens.
I do think with Amaro, I think most people would probably agree. If there's anyone that can pull off walking that fine line without disrespecting an opponent, it's him. He just, and he even said there have been a number of times where they've had 40 points in the first quarter. Could easily have 100. In 23 years of coaching, he's never scored 100 points on anybody, and I think that's purposeful.
Yeah, I remember
they've scored 90 a few times this year, but they haven't gone over the century.
I think they had a game last year against Greater Portland Christian where they scored maybe 98 or something like that. And again, it was just a team that just didn't belong on the same court as them. They still made sure that they didn't cross over that line. So he knows what he knows that the advantage they have and everything, and he makes sure that to not push it too far.
Yeah, let's switch gears a little bit back to Class A. So we've had quarterfinal rounds in Class A North, both boys and girls, over 2 nights. Through that, there's been one legitimate upset. Maybe I'm putting the cart before the horse, but I'm not counting Brewer beating Messalonsky on the boys.
5 and 4 is a toss-up.
And Brewer had the better record too. I think that's an upset.
That's the magic of the heel points.
We've had one real upset in Class A North, which was Skowhegan beating Messalonsky on the girls' side. Mm-hmm. Are we surprised after, by my poor math, 8 games through 2 nights here, that we've had just one upset?
A little. I think it just goes to show how neither region was particularly deep. There's a lot of talent at the top, obviously, in both Hampden teams, and the Gardner girls and the Lawrence girls and the Coney boys and Madomic Valley boys. But after that, it gets thin in a hurry.
I agree.
I mean, you had some under 500 teams in this field. With the Mount Blue, as well as they played tonight, they were still 8-10 in the regular season.
Yeah, I think if there's surprise, it's not so much in the amount of upsets, but at the fact that if we have one upset, that it came on the girls' side. To your point, it's just the one. I mean, the girls' side was where it seemed to be a little more. Boy, I can't imagine anybody beating Hampden. Boy, I can't imagine Madomic beating Gardner. Boy, I can't imagine Skowhegan over Messalonsky would end up happening. While the boys' side, it was a lot more. I mean, A North just has these upsets all the time. It's the 1 seed lost its opening game in 2 of the last 3 years. Yeah, and it almost happened again here today. That's just kind of the way it is. This team is. I don't know how it happens, but there does seem to be the teams that don't belong here don't get in. And all the 8 teams that get to this tournament are teams that could go on a run and win. And we saw it here today. All 4 top seeds got tested, and one of them got taken down.
I think that for me, we kind of ended the podcast last night. Travis, I know you were in Bangor, but we ended it last night talking about, like, for me, I thought all along, I felt like a number of the potential semifinal matchups on the girls' side were way more interesting than almost all 4 of the quarterfinal matchups on paper. You guys see far more of the boys' basketball side than I do during the regular season. The upcoming semifinal matchups, Coney versus Madomic and Brewer versus Hamden, those interest you any more or less than what we saw tonight?
Hamden Brewer does, absolutely, because Brewer came out. Okay, we just talked about just how strong and impressive they looked. They were knocking down 3 ball. They knocked down 7 threes in the first half. I mean, they were at one point, and not just because they were hucking them up. I think they went 7 of 9 or something like that. They were shooting really well from the outside, and and those 2 teams that know each other well, that's a game you would think it would be closer than Coney Madomic possibly, because Coney already routed Madomic in a game
twice, and they scored 91 each time.
Yeah.
That said, they routed Lawrence twice in the regular season, and Lawrence hung right with them for most of the game. And Coney's kind of got to get that bugaboo of reaching the semifinals year after year after year and never getting over that hump to the regional championship game. This is the 4th year in a row that the Rams are going to the semifinals. Each of the last 3 years, they've lost. Twice, they were upset by a team that Coach T.J. Main said, we were better than them and we just didn't play well. Once by a very good Hamden team that was a strong team that would have been tough from the beat. But, I don't want to call it a mental block, but they've got to kind of get over that hump and take the next step.
Coney's got something interesting going, and I think this is one of those things you could look either way on it, because this is if you go back to last year and this year, they're the 1 seed last year, the 2 seeds this year, and last year they almost lost to Madomic. They did lose to Lawrence, and then going up against the Lawrence team that you would have thought they would beat convincingly today, taken to the wire. So you could look at it 2 ways. You could either look at it as, boy, something about Coney, they just don't have that extra gear to them when they've been able to win these games, but just not able to kind of look the way they did during the regular season. Or you can say that's a team that's getting a lot of practice and playing and pulling out some close, tight games.
Yeah, do you guys see them going 2 for 19 from the 3 stripe again?
No, that'll probably change. But
yeah, maybe 3 for 18.
Yeah, well, they go
definitely not
they go 6 for 19, and it's a double-digit win, and we're not talking about it as a close game at all. So who knows?
It's funny how for some programs this building is such in the atmosphere as well. And when we say building, that's what I mean. But it's such a great equalizer for some, and for others, like the Hamden girls last night, it's no big deal. Just walk in, take care of business. It's very in Gardner too last night. I thought was very much the same way. It's just it's an interesting study in high school athletes and how some react to it and some don't, and you never really quite know what you're going to get.
This isn't a huge building. What's a seat? 5,500, and I don't think we've been jam packed. We've been full, but not standing room only or anything. But there's something when you come in the crowds going in the bands and. Some teams can just shake it off and some can't.
Yeah.
It's either a statement on just how much more disparity there was in the girls field, that the girls teams got off to better, the higher seeds in the girls tournament got off to better starts than the boys teams did, or it's just the girls teams just they got acclimated to the surroundings better than the boys team, because Madomic, Nick DePatsy, the coach for Madomic, said, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was nervous, but we just couldn't get a rhythm out there until they finally got one just in time. But Coney, Madomic, Hamden all tested, and you wonder how much it was just the environment playing in.
I can't believe we're 14 minutes into this podcast and we have not mentioned centralmaine.com. Go visit our Varsity Maine page and get all of our tournament coverage. We have everything from video to game stories to analysis to anything you want, and even all of these podcasts. All right, gentlemen, it's getting late. Had enough here. I'm going to give you each 30 seconds max to either talk about one thing you didn't mention from today or look ahead to Monday when we have some Class C South boys in here.
Yeah, we got some Class D South boys and girls in the morning, I think. And I'm looking forward to seeing Wayne Fleet come in. That's always the team that we don't see up here in Central Maine, and they're always good, and it'll be neat to see them. I think they're playing the Trape in the 2-7 boys game, and of course, Winthrop in the 8-1, and the Mount Abram boys back here for the first time in 21 years. So it'll be neat to see how the Roadrunners do.
kind of working off Travis's point, the Western Maine Conference kicked the MVC's butt in B South bracket this year, but in C South it's a lot more of an even fight. Winthrop won it all. Did win it all last year. Halldale was the team that came out of the bracket the year before that. So that's 2 MVC teams in a row. Waynfleet has always been a team that everybody kind of expects to come out of there, but they always find themselves in a fight in this tournament. So once again, looking to see how those southern teams do against the more local MVC teams up this way.
Yeah, I'll kind of piggyback off of that. I think with the Winthrop boys, the couple of times I've seen Todd MacArthur this winter, he's talked about we're just not quite. The record's really good, but he wasn't quite convinced we're quite there. And so I think probably Monday night regional quarterfinals is going to be the real true test of whether Todd's just bluffing or worrying too much, or if maybe that Winthrop team isn't quite built like they have been in the past.
I'm not going into detail on Winthrop. I got in trouble last time.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
We don't need Drew being bulletin board Drew here.
All right, listen, everybody. Thanks for listening. It's been a long day here at the Civic Center. We're going to take Sunday off. Congratulations, and we'll be back here Monday with plenty more action. I'm Travis Barrett. This is Travis Lazarczyk and Drew Bonifant. Thanks for listening to the Center Court podcast. Follow us on Twitter, on Facebook, and, of course, centralmaine.com, and we'll catch up with you at the beginning of the week.
See you guys Monday.
Sounds good.
Sounds like a plan.